Hello, and welcome back to the Foreclosure Deals Coach podcast. I'm Donny Coram, your foreclosure deals coach and host, and this is the show where we discuss how to find, figure, fund, fix, and flip a foreclosure deal. I have the honor of bringing on some of the top real estate coaching and investment professionals all across the United States of America, and today is no exception. I am honored to bring on Prefontaine from Smarter Real Estate Coach, who's going to talk about how the foreclosure market, the investment market, the entire real estate landscape is changing, and how he's helping his clients to succeed in this moving real estate market. Without further ado, let's bring on Mr. Chris Prefontaine to the show. What's going on, Chris? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Donnie. If I got off the show right now, I'd be excited just from your energy.
I appreciate that, man. I try to keep it upbeat. If you listen to some of these shows, you're like,
you got it covered.
Yeah, the real estate. It's fun, right? No, man, this is exciting. Life is good. The things are amazing. Tell me, it's been a while. We've had you on the show a little while back. I'd love to have you back. Really excited. What's been going on with Smarter Real Estate Coach, Chris? How's life in your world?
Life's great. I don't know how long ago I was on your show, but we talked even together, you and I personally, but in 33 years, for me, this fall is 33 years. And in 33 years, I have not seen the demand, the acceptance, and all surrounding variables of creative real estate. Haven't seen it. I mean, we've been screaming about it for a long time. Out of my 33, I've been at this 11. And I've not seen such cool demand right now for a lot of reasons, right? The market, we can talk about the different reasons.
Yeah. Well, let's start into that. What do you think the primary driver of the demand going up in the real estate investment space? Why are more people looking to invest right now?
Well, they're looking for, in particular, this niche, and then you and I can tear apart a bunch of cool niches right now because it's high demand. But look you've got interest rates still hovering around that 50-year high, I think, 50-year average, rather. Sorry, 50-year average, which isn't hie in you and I's world, but it is high for a lot of people, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So then you got the media screaming, and I did a podcast interview, solo cast on this, Donnie, recently, where I pulled out headlines from the media from 19 to 23. I read the headline, and then I read how it happened, like totally opposite of what they're saying, right?
Right.
So all that to say, they're screaming to sellers. Sellers are hearing this. They're panicking, and it's not even remotely close to what went on in 08, and that's what they're comparing to.
That's
like,
right.
Just take the inventory alone in 08, time frame window. The inventory was like, I want to say it was like 4 million homes. It was crazy.
Sure.
Now there's like 1 million or less, and a lot of those are under agreement. It's just a different market totally. And I always say this, no matter how good or bad or sideways the market is, once you know how to pivot and operate and kind of be that transactional engineer, you're fine. You have no worry whatsoever.
And that's so true. A lot of people get into this thinking to master real estate in any one market or any one situation, when the reality is the market's constantly in a state of flux. So when you're working with your clients, do you have a path they start on to do their first deal, or how do you help them to navigate it when the market is in this state of flux? Where do they start?
We do start in the same way. So they're going to buy one of a few different ways. And that's typically for a brand new person, no experience, no to little money. They're going to probably start with lease purchase versus trying to buy owner financing or sub two, generally speaking, just because our agreements, Donnie, have a $10 deposit built into them, believe it or not, and then control that real estate for that much. And I've had numerous cases. Brian in Chicago did like his first 8 properties. Now I told him sub two. He did his first 8 properties lease purchase and created, in our payday system he created over 800 grand in 3 paydays with $10 deposits on 8 homes. That's pretty cool. That's real stuff happening.
That's insane. That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and that's not now money, just for disclosure for the listeners. That's our 3 paydays stretch over time, right? So they get a little now, a little over time, a little long term. It's not like tonight he created 800 grand in his first 8 deals, but he did for him and his family over time.
And that's the reality. Real estate is over time, right? You're learning a skill set that's going to develop over a long period of time. It's going to bring in those long-term paychecks, right?
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen overnight. Do you deal with a lot of people like I do? They're just super impatient. They want to get rich quick in this market. And how do you tell them that's not how this works?
Yeah, I would bet you and I talked about this last time, because I'm really adamant about this. So you and I say to people, look, it's hard. It's super wealth creation, but it's hard. You gotta be an entrepreneur is hard. Then you're adding in all this other creative stuff, right?
That's right.
Okay, so I'm the first one to scream that it's harder than you think. But you and I have right behind our back on Facebook and other social media marketers who are marketing get rich quick, the rented Lamborghini or whatever they do, and it just pollutes the market. So yes, people come to you and I and go, my expectation is here. I'm going to try this. And if I get a deal, I'll stay with it. What do you mean try? You can't. There is no way you can try any one
Commit
niche
or
without
don't.
blinders on for 3 or 4 years. You got
That's
to be
right.
at this stuff. So
That's right.
my quick comment on that without poo-pooing on anyone.
Well, and I love that. Again, we don't want to attack them, but there are a lot of guys who read, watch a couple of YouTube videos, read a couple of books maybe, and then started purporting themselves as real estate gurus. You're in for 33 years. I've been in for 20 years, right? So
Nice.
I'm a baby in this industry compared to you. But the realization that both of us share is that this process takes time. It's different strokes for different folks. Nobody actually gets rich quick. Right now, it happens. It happens fast in the sense that you put in the time and effort, and then suddenly it combines. But like you said, this is a 3 to 4 year process to do this well, right? And that's the beginning phase. That's just doing it well. In your experience now, with the market in a state of flux, are a lot of people looking at the distressed homes, the foreclosed market? I know you're very much a proponent of creative financing and that kind of thing. But are you looking at buying stuff out of foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, that kind of thing?
We don't, when someone starts new, especially Donnie, hone in on just that. But what happens in this market, big time right now, record numbers, as they're doing their different lead sources, we teach them, they're running into the foreclosure, the pre-foreclosure, left and right. I just did a deal structure video this morning with a gentleman in our community who had, I'll tell you a really fast story because I think they're better answers than theory.
Okay.
Woman, sad story. Woman only owed 110 grand, and that counted 40 grand in arrears. Her home was 1.2 million, Donnie. But she was all alone and she didn't know what to do. So he caught this when it was 7 days before auction. 7. He happens to be an expert at stopping them. He stopped it. I'm making a long story short. Sure. He stopped it, gave her the 40 grand, became a 10% fractional owner in the house. He did the right thing for her. He could have bought that house. A lot of investors would have, and she would have got screwed. He said, no, I don't want to do that to you. I just need 10% in my money back. And what a moral and ethical story. I just did that today with him because I heard about it. And so all that to say, they're coming at us either way, whether you farm just that or not. And some of our students do, but that's their choice.
Well, and that's the reality. It's about choice. Just like you trade in the stock market or any other investment vehicle, you can choose to do this ethically in the right way, or you can choose to do this the other way. If you can look yourself in the mirror and do it the wrong way and hurt people, more power to you in a lot of ways. It's not who I want to identify with, right? It's certainly not who you identify with, but it does happen. It's out there. But you can learn to do this in a manner that helps people out of jams, or you can learn to do this in a manner that hurts people. Either way, you can get wealthy doing it, but one of them allows me to sleep at night. Right. And the other one, not so much, right?
100%, Donnie. And then you made me think of something when you said, are they going after foreclosure? Because if a student comes in and says, look, I have a job or I have this family going on and here's my schedule, I'm going to adapt my training to the schedule. If they come in and say, hey, Chris, I want to do some of your stuff, but I want to, because this is a real story in California, but I want to go buy 2 or 3 multis. Can I do those with your techniques, free and clear, owner financing, principal only? Yes, of course you can. All these techniques work on any asset class. So we're going to adapt to whatever they want to accomplish. Just when I teach sort of from the platform, let's say, from the broad audience, I got to start with the basics or you're going to give everybody the shiny object syndrome. But we know how to do it all, of course.
And that's the thing. I'm the foreclosure deals coach because we're really focusing on that foreclosure market. The first deal needs to be a fix and flip. My objective is to get their initial investment in coaching back and get that profit taste. Because I remember, as I'm sure you do, when you cash that first paycheck, how it feels to cash that check and know this is real. This can replace my day job. Tell me about your first deal. Can you remember when you cashed that first check on a flip or a deal you did? How much was it, if you remember? And how did that feeling feel for you?
Yeah, I'm thinking. My first deal was sort of a weird land deal with a split level home on it on a golf course. I'm not remembering the numbers. I can tell you the number I remember is when I started then building. Let me back up. I lied. I do remember some of the numbers. So we subdivided the land.
Okay.
Kept the split. I'm going way back. I'm dating myself, but this is like 91. Kept the split, both on a golf course. When we subdivided the land, we were able to build what they call zero lot line, a duplex, but they were condos. You could condo them.
Sure.
So we did that. And then, so we kept the house, but by the time we sold off the condos and that extra piece of land, we had the house down to almost debt free. So that was a very conventional deal. I didn't buy owner financing back then. I wish I knew how back then, but we bought it conventionally, my partner and I, and we spun off that to get that house almost debt free just by spinning off the lot and building the houses. So pretty cool.
I love that. And obviously the liberation when you got paid on that deal, right? Obviously it turned you to coaching. It got you to where you are today. But do you remember the feeling? Well, what was the transition feeling for you to worker be to full-time investor?
I do. And it's a story that goes along with that. So I remember like yesterday, I was doing a few of these and we started doing some building too. I was on like my third house, feeling pretty fat and happy. I was in my late 20s.
Sure.
But my dad's company had sold like, I don't know, a year prior to this. And then right during that time period, I had kids 1 and 2 years old, right? They're in their 30s now. They fired me. So I had no income except for my new real estate. They said, here's your car and here's a month pay. Bye-bye.
Good
So
luck.
I was gone. Now, most people say, wow, you had the kids. What were you going to do? I remember the feeling driving down the street after that happened going, weird, but I'm like elated because I had no cuffs. And I remember going to the office and thinking, this is cool. Like I can do whatever I want to do because I worked for the family company for so many years.
Yes.
It was very cool.
It's liberating, right? I remember my first deal, old style Victorian house. I know nothing about flipping. I ended up cashing a check, long story short, $17,846.32. But I also remember taking that check and putting it on the wall of my cubicle at my office. And then I started doing deals and I started putting each check that I cashed along the cubicle until at some point my job called me into HR and said, you got to take these checks down. You're messing with people's psyche right now. I said, how are these checks offensive? Anyway, they fired me. They let me go. But just like you said, when I'm driving, you realize that like there's a freedom from that. Like I don't need that biweekly check anymore. I know a process now that can provide for me and my family for the rest of my life. So it's awesome you got to experience that. Tell me about your program a little bit more. Smarter Real Estate Coach. You've been around a long time. You've been doing this quite some time. I look up to you guys. The system is very well dialed in. Your marketing is amazing. How are you helping people to advance in that? I know you talk about creative financing, but what's your ideal client for your coaching program?
I'll give you the ideal client, and I'll tell you how we kind of bridge. I call it bridging the gap, right? Because I think there's a gap in the industry. You and I know this. The gap being the time from when you get educated of whatever that might be, course, seminar, to when you do a deal. And this big gap. But sometimes people don't do deals because they're jumping. Okay. Right. So how we guide through that is we do use sort of the interactive approach.
Okay.
And so let me first talk Avatar so I don't miss your question. Avatar tends to be, we do have a wide age gap on this avatar. I mean, we have people in our community 17 or 18 up to 70s, but it tends to be 45 to 60 for some reason. Okay. Maybe because they have a little bit of money, maybe because they're done with the JOB. I don't know. Secondly, people that have either been part of or witnessed a family company, because we are a family company, whether people like that or not. So sometimes they'll be like, I want that. It's cool. I want to be with my kids. Some people know. Others would be people that come from podcasts like your great show, Donny, because I tend to see that people sitting on a podcast for like a half hour, 45 minutes, an hour, whatever, they're learners. Yes. Right? They're learners. And so it's the phenomenal avatar coming from these podcasts that say, I heard you, I want to learn a little bit more. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Absolutely.
So those tend to be some commonalities. And then a lot of people, COVID drove more of this, but always since we started, people that are earning like 5 and 6 figures have the job, but it's just done hustling for someone else. We've been helping people escape the W-2, we call it, since 2014. That's 10 years. And there's some really, really cool stories. And so back to the interactive approach, how we get that done. When they come in and go, hey, I want to leave my job. Like Rick left his job recently, 30 years for the government, Donny, 30. And he left after his first 5 deals because our deals are super lucrative. Mm-hmm. And all we did was we said, okay, what's the game plan? What are the challenges in the way? And I literally spent 2 hours in a room with him and a couple other members and mapped out his plan, and he executed. That happens every time. It's not that it's easy. It's going to be a 9-month to a 30-month process, but depending on your income. But it can be done. Sorry for the long answer, but that's how we do it.
No, that was exactly what I want to hear. 5 years. What I really took away from that is 5 years he left his super lucrative job, right? He didn't sign up for your coaching. Suddenly he was loaded. And he's
5 deals, actually. 5 deals.
Right?
Yeah.
It took several iterations of the process to 100%. Actually get to that end result, right? And there's a lot of people thinking, I'm going to do a deal, and that's going to be the end of it. And that's why I try to do the flip, because it's a shorter time frame as opposed to cashing out of a rental. But again, every coach's strategy is a little bit different. Right. People identify really well with you, may not identify with me, and vice versa. And that's why the professional coaches like you and I can get together on our podcast. People have asked me, like, well, isn't this your competitor? I go, no, there's so much to go around, and you can help a certain breed of people, and I can help a certain breed of people. And because we understand that, that's why our businesses continue to grow. So I think that's
just prosperity mindset, right?
Absolutely.
That's
so the market's crashing, right? I mean, are you worried? Like we're starting to see some reduction. Are you concerned?
I am not. I tell you what. Look, you and I aren't the economists, and the billionaires don't. Like nobody knows. But my opinion is, no, I'm not, because there's one constant, right? In real estate, constantly changes. I don't care what, it's going to keep doing it. So why get all worked up about it? What you can and should do is learn how to operate in any market. And that's what you and I do. That's what they need to do. Not worry about the ups and downs. You're wasting time.
Absolutely. You look at stock traders, you don't have that, right? People don't go, hey, I made a bunch of money in the boom of 2005 or whatever, right? And I'm using that same strategy. But for some reason in real estate, when we have a correction, and I guess it's because it's more infrequent, but people are like, well, there's no more money in real estate, and they want to leave the industry entirely. I find that fascinating.
Yeah,
but,
you want a cool analogy there? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Wait, no. Let's hear the analogy, please.
Well, so it's the only industry I know of, real estate and stocks and bonds, where when things go on sale, people run away. You gotta get it.
Isn't that confusing? Oh my God, that drives me nuts. And you see that things are cheaper now. Things are coming down in value, and the general mindset is you can't make money. One thing we're experiencing, maybe you can speak to this, in Colorado anyway, the market's kind of trading flat. We're not seeing it go up a lot. We're not seeing it come down a lot because of the interest rates kind of stifled with the inventory. We're kind of floating along in this center. And I think it's a little harder to trade when the market's flat. Up markets are obvious. Down markets are less obvious, but doable. But flat markets is kind of a thing. Are you seeing that in your market? And how do you overcome that challenge?
Yeah, some. Let me just say this. I just said this on a call an hour before you and I spoke, and that is when people listen to the news and the news says the market, as you and I know, there's pockets of markets everywhere, right? But generally speaking, yes, I'm seeing in some of our pockets flat. The way we do our deals, Donnie, that reminds me of like 13, 14 up through almost 19. Was sort of flat in our area to rising in others. But the lease purchase and any of the terms deals we do works well during that because we capture principal pay down regardless of what the market's doing.
Makes sense.
So we're not relying on some uptick like some people do. We're not. We're doing the deal today. We're selling it today. We're just selling it on terms over time. So flat's good for us actually.
Okay.
Down is all down does is make us fish in a different pond because sellers are panicking, and all up does is make it a little more competitive. So we're not really dealing with FSBOs because they're too cocky when an up market. We're dealing with other people. So see, it's just where do I fish during these markets? That's all it is.
Absolutely. And because I'm focused, a lot of my clients are first timers, and I'm focused not exclusively, but the general path is you're doing a fix and flip. So flat affects that a little bit, right? But to your point, the idea is the long-term strategies we can employ to build wealth over the long thing. I don't know if you heard, but I got my Series 65 license. So I'm a registered investment advisor. I'm working down that area. And it's because I really wanted to separate the brand from the general real estate coaching side to really being treated as an investment advisor, which you don't have a problem with because everybody sees you as an investment advisor now. But how do you make that differentiation from this is not it's not a get rich quick thing. Yeah. I'm advising you on how to invest in this one particular niche. Obviously, you haven't gone the securities route, but how do you explain to people what your expertise is to make them see the value?
Very good question. Couple things come to mind. One is you said earlier, hey, I've been at this 20 years. Well, that preceded the 08 garbage, right?
Yes, it did.
So different cycles in the market and personal challenges too, but I'm talking about just the economics now. You went through that, you went through COVID. So you already have built-in credibility and built-in expertise and built-in skill sets because you weathered those storms.
Absolutely.
That's important. So I've weathered many of those, more than I want to know.
Sure.
Secondly, we have now the Creative Financing Real Estate Association, which you get certified as a student or accredited as an associate of ours. Once you go through the course and then take the exam, go through the module, take the exam. It's like 12 modules, 12 mini exams. And so that goes on your website and that certifies you or accreditates you. That helps you talk into sellers. And oh, by the way, you have the skill set for life, right? No one can take it from you. So things like that. And then, our community, just our coaches, we only have 5, but our coaches and myself and my son and son-in-law, there's 75 years experience. Like there's no shaking that. It's not that I know everything now. I don't. Every single week, something comes in the door and I go, well, that's different. That's why real estate's so fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's constantly shifting, like you said, and because there's always more education you can gain. There's always a different market to train you about how to act in this market. That accreditation is very interesting. I'd love to learn more about that. We should chat about that a bit more online because I'm really trying to build my educational base. And again, there's always something I can learn. There's always something more I could bring to my clients. You're going to identify with a certain subset of the clientele, but how many clients do you try to bring in annually? Do you have a number you're targeting that you guys want to hit for the year?
Yeah, client-wise, we usually bring in around 60 associates and then 60 jumpstart. We call jumpstart. They're like the shorter group coaching program because they might want to just learn a little bit, get their feet wet, and go on their own.
Gotcha.
Because for us, Donnie, it's more about, okay, now that they're in, how can we improve the metrics we care about as a company, which are not how many, but time to first deal, time to first sold. That's what we want to know. Because if we can shorten those to exactly your point, why would they leave?
Yep. That's it. Right. And that's it. If they're making money, they're not going anywhere. And that's why I focus on something that can happen relatively fast. So they're like, yeah, this is valuable. We can do it again. But it does lead to that get rich quick dynamic that I have to overcome afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, listen, I am trying to get this deal done quickly, but the relationship that we're forming as your coach is supposed to stand the test of time. It's supposed to be 4 or 5, 10 years down the road where we really get to see you build wealth. But that's hard in marketing, right? People don't think about the long term, especially with all the gurus out there pitching how quickly you can make money in real estate investing. So,
well, and I try to say it like I'm saying on your show, because we're an open book. One of our values is just clear communication and open, right? No gray area. So I try to tell people, look, you may have seen that video where so-and-so did a deal in 32 days and they hit a home run, but that's because they've been at it and they think opportunity's open. But you also need to know that it took someone else a year or 15 months to get their first deal. Why? We all have different baggage. I don't know why until I meet someone, right?
right.
I came with baggage for 4 years. I couldn't get my head out of the sand from the crash. Other people, I had a student who had a sadly, his wife passed. So it took him a year to get his first deal, but then he did 3 deals all over 6 figures. Well, you just don't know. So you can't look online with the marketing and go, oh, it takes him that long. No, it took him that long because he had life happening. That's all.
Yes. And so much of it is mindset. How much time do you spend with your clients on just shifting how they think about real estate and the mindset piece?
I think, okay, I'm going to tell you what I think it's worth. I'm going to tell you how much time. We have 3 pillars: mindset, skill set, systems.
Yep.
You said to me, pick one. It's mindset, because I can teach you and I can teach people how to do a deal. We can do it in pretty short order, right? Skill set wise.
That's
we
easy.
can give them the newest systems that you and I are using, because here you go. This is what we use. What we can't do is overnight change the mindset, to your point. It's the hardest piece. We were up at Aria, my son-in-law and I, in Vermont, because I have another house there.
Okay.
And a gentleman walked over to him and said, hey, you know what I realized? And we thought it was going to be somehow hard about the deal we did. And he said, I realized that the mindset is such a bigger piece than anyone realizes. Well, that's true of entrepreneurship, not just real estate, right?
100%.
I know. I was in my head for 4 years, didn't get my own way, from 8 to 12. So I know it's a very hard piece.
It is. And until you overcome it, the rest of the stuff, you're not going to learn the systems. You're not going to, for me, it's mindset, tactics, and tools, right? Because there are systems, but it's the same thing. That's tools are systems, tactics are actions, right? And mindset is at the top of that pillar. But it's so interesting that we're separate coaches, but we all have to follow kind of that same process.
What works
is the hardest part to overcome in this thing. And a lot of people never overcome it. No matter how many coaches they get, no matter how many deals they do, they just don't fully get through that. So that's the effort you're working on, is changing the stuff in between your ears. How do people get hold of you, Chris? Like obviously we got smartrealestatecoach.com. If they're looking to learn more about your program and how it works, what's the best way to reach out and start interacting with you?
I'm big on free. I'll give you 2 free resources. They can go to Wicked Smart Books, wickedsmartbooks.com/Donny. They'll get a hard copy, Donny. There's no shipping. Those free offers that you got to put a card in for. No shipping. So wickedsmartbooks.com/Donny. They can also go to smartrealestatecoach.com/masters class, and they'll get about a 55 or so minute workshop of me. It's a replay. So you're not strapped to anything. Nobody's going to be breathing down your neck. Just enjoy it. And then you'll be able to reach out to us if you want to go ahead and learn more. I'm big on free, so you can do that.
I love that, Chris. Thanks for that. Hey, I got to bring this up because the thick accent came up on your last show. Somebody said, who's that guy with the thick Boston accent? This obviously means it tells us where you're from. Did you see the Tom Brady roast?
I saw clips of it. My brother said it was hilarious and you can't stop watching it, but I saw clips of it.
It was absolutely, that's your homework. Seriously, you got to sit down and watch it. It was
I will follow directions.
It was amazing. It was absolutely amazing. They did such a good job. And Tom deserves it because, forget Tom. I'm not going to put the cuss words on my show, but I'm sorry. I'm glad he's gone. Anyway, we won't have a football discussion. Any parting thoughts, Chris? We're pretty much nearing the end of this show today. Anything you'd like to add to the public before we wrap this thing up today?
You and I hit all the points. I'm going to say this because of the market. Just know you can do it. And if you hook up with Donny or myself, and we're not so naive to think we're the only two, hook up with someone that you can put the blinders on for 3 to 7 years. You'll have a great experience. Just don't get caught up in the shiny objects.
I love that. Learn the process, know what needs to get done, execute on what your coach tells you to do, make some money, rinse and repeat, right? It ain't rocket science, but you do got to follow the advice.
Love it.
With that, man, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I hope you continue to do this, keep the relationship moving. I love following what you're doing, and I'm going to learn about that creative real estate accreditation. That's really cool.
We'll talk. Have my team give you my cell and let's talk.
For sure. I love that. Guys, the time is now. I really appreciate having you on the show. Chris, thanks for the time. Looking forward to talking to you soon.
Thank you.
Hey guys, you heard it here. Chris Prefontaine, one of the top real estate coaches in the country, been around for 30 years. He's been in this game, letting you know some of the keys and the mindset pieces to really get going and start doing deals accurately. Obviously, I would love to be your coach if we're the right fit. If that sounds like that's the case, join up. Go out to foreclosuredeals.coach.com. Click on the link. Let's schedule a time together. If we're not the right fit, reach out to Chris. See what his program has to offer you. But the point is you want to get somebody in your lane helping you to navigate the waters of real estate, especially while they're moving as much as they are now, and start doing deals. You can do it. We can help. With that, this is Donny Coram, your foreclosure deals coach, thanking you so much for tuning in the show and reminding you now and always, don't buy a house, buy a deal.